my God, and low sugar.
My sister's always gone on and on about how much empty calories I use by all the soft drink I drink. So I've managed to switch to like no sugar, and ginger beer was the one that I found the hardest because it was slightly different tasting, but so worth it. But yeah, my fridge is literally chocolate blocks full of soft drink at this rate, and my cupboard is full of instant food. Guess what? The neighbours.
Turn the thing on.
It's on, darling. So I had this 2-hour conversation, and I've literally just made a 40-minute video before I came here, of course. And I'm calling rando people just Bob number 1 and Bob number 2 because they're
like the
just
minions.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, one of them has been. This is where I struggle. Yeah. So one of them has been sleeping in his car in the front yard of the house.
Next door.
Yeah, so I was like, I'm so confused. Like, you told me you had a room, and then apparently it was all politics and bullshit. And this guy is super sweet, yeah? Like, you know me, I don't care if you're on drugs or not. Just don't do the wrong thing by me or the next person kind of thing, yeah? Look.
I see where this is going.
No. No, I don't know that you do. So, anyway. Oh, and remember, you got to do this before you open it, all right?
Okay.
Get the ginger, all right? Anyway, so he finally fills me, and we spent 2 hours talking out the front of my house, and I finally fucking got what's going. You know how confused I've been with the fucking neighbours and in and out and everything? So remember when I said I had the shitty neighbours with the dad and the son and then the girlfriend and the bullshit, yeah? So what's happened is they illegally subletted the house to the people who've been in it, and the people who've been in it have been paying rent, but the rent isn't being paid. So it turns out they're like $8,000 in debt and rent. They've been taken to VCAT and everything. They have been today was DDOT for eviction.
Would those people get the fine, the debt, or would it go to the people who were actually on the lease?
I have no idea, but all I know is the police been there
again.
The house, the street was like alive with people. Now, I slept until like 11ish because yesterday I just had this amazing jam-packed day, and I kept thinking, I'm sure that's not the volume of what I'm hearing isn't someone just speaking, and I was like, I'm positive cops are
Megaphone.
Yeah, that's it. I was like, it's one of those things.
Your street is the most drama-filled street.
Well, I called it entertaining in a message to Graham and Victor, and I was like, that's probably not the right word, but it also kind of is,
yeah.
You know?
From your perspective,
because
yes.
There was not just these people like getting shit out of the house. The house, like the street outside of my house, was cut. That not good. The look of it looks like something you'd feed one of your kids, man.
It is.
Oh, well, that is probably why.
For those at home, it's protein yogurt.
And
delicious.
The look on my therapist's face says it's really bad.
Gross. But I will eat it because I'm desperate.
Oh,
and I don't want to faint during your appointment.
Oh, see, good thing I brought you the ginger bit, right? So, yeah, so they've been evicted. I would say the other people at guess were maybe like the owners. There was like, because from what I could tell speaking to Bob last night, I was like, you're telling me you've got to all be out by tomorrow, and I'm like, I've seen a couple cars pick up a few things. I was like, but I've been home most of this time. I'm like, do you plan on squatting or not leaving, or like what's the go? And he's like, well, I sleep in my car, so it's not, totally the biggest deal for him.
It would be the owners. You do get like notification from the whoever that the sheriff are going over it this time.
Well, yeah, like
this day.
There was cops in the front yard.
They
the
can
whole
do a
time.
walkthrough, I think 2 hours after they changed the locks.
Right before I left to come here, it went silent. Yeah. It would have literally, like I made my video, you know what I'm like with my videos, I just talk and then I'm like, oh my God, hurry up. I got to stop
I almost would have done a telehealth today just to see what happened.
Oh, I know. Well, if I could have, I would. But it literally finished right beforehand. And because, you know me, I'm nosy. We're all aware of this. That's what I said to Bob last night. I said, look, I'm nosy. I blame it on being a philosopher. That's what I said to lady
Or
up
just
front.
like a human.
I was like, I ask a bunch of Christians, I get permission to tell me to F off, but I'm going to ask them anyway, you know. So, yeah, it was just so interesting that they're 100%, they're gone, the street is quiet.
Well, these neighbors caused you a lot of anxiety.
Oh, I'm over the bloody moon.
So
Because I
this
get to
is
keep my
good.
house and they're gone.
Yeah.
Win-win, I'm stoked.
Yeah.
The other house next to me on the other side has been finally rented out to a family with a bunch of noisy children, all speak a different language. That's cool. I plan
Hopefully
on
they all
going.
speak the same language.
I seriously love your sense of humour. It's so funny. You're looking very pretty today too, by the way.
Thanks.
I did not realise how fucking hot it was when I walked outside and immediately had to take my jumper off. And I was like, ooh, that's cool. I'm 1000% fit.
You're
Like,
dressed.
exactly. I'm dressed and showered. My hair's cool.
Mine curly.
Yeah. You know, everything I say to you is being put back to me. So I made a video last night relaying everything about what I'd heard from Bob, yeah? Because it was fascinating. Yeah, it was beautiful. I've asked Graham if he'll cut my hair for me. I was like, I am not paying however the ridiculous fucking amount that the hairdresser wants me to pay to get the tiniest amount of split ends cut off. So I said to Graham, we're just going to make it all straight and we're just going to go chop, 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 and that'll be enough. It's about where I'm at.
I think mine, she does at the end when it's all straight, because it's not usually.
Yeah.
She like gets the thing
Oh, yeah.
and just like right on the back.
Yeah,
So it's like all.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the last person who cut my hair was my sister-in-law. You know, like I haven't dyed it in nearly 3.5 years now. As we know, I've decided never to dye it
You
again.
don't get grays.
No, it's because I do get greys and I love them. Yeah, but people keep saying you don't get greys. I'm like, fucking look at my hair, people. There's so many of them.
Your
Not the point.
highlights.
Well, that's what I reckon. I've spent thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars throughout my life trying to be ash blonde. It turns out if I just stay natural, let the greys come in, does it for me for free.
Ash blonde.
Exactly. So I realised something in the last few days. I think I've had this realisation since after seeing you last, and at least I've said it before and you remember and I don't. But it's sort of just like hit me like this ton of bricks that I think the reason I'm rapidly spiraling so fast and yet pulling myself out faster is because this entire time I've been in therapy, and I'm talking not just with you. I just want you to film your children eating one of those, just to see the comparison between you and them, yeah? Because it's fucking hilarious, all right, from my point of view, okay? But I sort of think that the last however many years I've been managing symptoms from my trauma and my conditions.
Yeah.
But I feel like I'm going through something where it's actually starting to slowly but surely clear out the trauma.
Yeah.
Instead of just managing the trauma and like, you know, the Band-Aid sort of keeping me regulated, yeah, it's a word I should have tattooed on me. Like,
Also, I think that over time, with therapy, ideally we've managed symptoms, we mitigate risk. So
Yeah.
historically, psychological intervention is largely about risk management.
yeah, that's what I mean.
But the shift in focus has been now that the shift is not about keeping you alive, stopping you from self-harming, stopping you from this, stopping you from doing that.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually a shift towards encouraging a different attitude towards living your life. We don't
Yes.
actually know how long we have between, you know, on the planet. We know that
Yeah.
we can choose all of us have choices in our life. We choose erratic driving, we choose drug use, we choose
As a
self-harm,
philosopher
we
who is
choose.
pretty sure I understand determinism and free will, I'm going to agree to disagree slightly. But let's say the world lives on free will, sure, and choice.
Yeah, I mean, there are things that aren't in your control too. Yeah.
Mm.
Anyway,
That's a whole philosophical
It's a
debate
whole
that I
thing
went down the
about
rabbit hole for years. So
the
we'll just
butterfly
skip past
effect
that.
happens, and
Yeah,
then the
exactly.
truck's at the right spot,
But
and
no,
then
I
you run
hear-
the red light, and then
I
anyway.
hear what you're saying. Yeah.
Point is, we're focusing on allowing you to focus on how you want to live the rest of our undetermined lives, and as a result, we engage our real life. The more we
Yeah.
engage the real life, we talk about it from a DBT perspective,
Mhm.
which is like, your favorite.
Gotta love DBT.
Gotta
right?
love it.
Dialectible behavioural therapy for anyone wanting to know what that means.
Yes. We're looking at the ABCs. We're accumulating positive experiences.
Yes, I've been doing
Do you
that.
remember those ones? Yeah. Accumulating positivity means you have a lot less time to have negativity.
It's so true. That's what's happening
So
since I've
basic.
made this change.
So basic. But, you have less time, you have less attention for the negative, more focus on this, and sometimes, yes, that's a struggle. We understand that. Like, fine. B, build mastery. So you build a life in which you feel like you have some control, some validation
good.
of your own world, and cope ahead. So you imagine the worst because we have trauma backgrounds or because we have, a past or a life. And as a result, then we almost plan for that.
I think with the last one, I've been imagining the best to get me to keep going, but it's almost like
But you have a safety net.
I self-sabotage. Like, I'm very aware now that I've been doing that in certain areas.
Yep.
I don't know why, but look, let's face it, I'll be in therapy until you retire, so hopefully that's ages away.
So, but let's look at it from like a camping. I'm going to use a camping metaphor. You know this is going to go badly already, right? Anyway, it's not the point.
I love you as my therapist. Go ahead.
Camping. I've literally never done it. Okay.
I'm a bit like you, but let's go.
Let's do this. Okay.
Yep.
Imagine I'm gonna go camping.
Mm.
Like
I'm
already.
imagining, yeah.
Already.
Mhm.
Okay. So I need to go and buy all the crap that goes with camping. Let's imagine like proper camping, not Australian camping, like where you have like a tent.
Yeah. I know proper
So I
camping
go-
from NZ. My family did it, so yeah.
I buy a tent.
Mhm.
Okay, now knowing my luck, it'll be like super great because I'll drive to the campground. I'll probably get lost. And along the way, it'll be like dusk before I'm setting this crap up. And then I'm going to have, screaming kids and an annoyed partner and like a whole bunch of things. And I'm going to be trying to set this thing up. And by the way, it's probably also raining.
I was thinking now, I was like, everything that could go wrong is probably going wrong. in
Probably
this
gonna go wrong.
analogy. Yeah.
So if I'm going to go and buy a tent, like I'm going to do things, I'm going to plan ahead, cope ahead. I'm going to go, you know what, it's probably going to rain. So I'm going to do something like buy the rain tent thing.
Yep.
I don't know.
The cover. I
Thanks,
know what
the
you're talking
rain
about.
cover thing.
Yep.
And then I'm going to probably take it out of its packaging and I'm probably going to try to pitch my tent in my backyard to sort of see if I can do it.
Yeah.
Learn how before I put myself in this shit situation.
It's funny because this analogy is actually bringing up like a very recent thing I've been through, and it's really helping me to see.
So it's called cope ahead. We imagine all the things that can go wrong because naturally we're a little bit pessimistic.
Yeah.
And we manage them. So we basically
Hence it
take
looks
away
like
the
I'm moving in
opportunities.
for the day. Like, my bag is so full.
Really? It's got
And
like one thing in it.
No, it doesn't. It was chockers before I took out the ginger beers
Oh yeah,
and all
there's
that.
drinks.
But like I'm
Non-alcoholic ginger beers.
oh yeah, no, alcoholic ginger beer is disgusting. I've realised
It's like seltzer.
it's super weird.
It's like hard seltzer.
Yeah, it's interesting though. So I'm currently doing statistics. Yeah.
Oh god.
Well, yeah. So at the beginning of uni, let's face it, 6 years ago, I was super excited about statistics because I love numbers and formulas and maths, and I've always loved it.
There's
Yeah.
at least a right and wrong answer.
Oh, exactly right. If you figure out how to do the formula and how to put it into place, you've got much more, just go and get it. Technically, though, I have been becoming so overwhelmed trying to follow the seminar while trying to use the statistics on a laptop size this big. So I'm obviously part of the group, as we've always got group chats for uni. And almost every single student I've spoken to is like, oh my God, I wouldn't even bother trying to do this unit without having 2 screens. Now, Graham, I would have explained to you, has the whole setup. Like, his family's got the whole, looks like an open plan working space, and they all have 3 screens, yeah?
3 screens?
Yeah, 3 screens, right? Like, adding one isn't confusing enough, right? So, as we know, I know nothing about technology. Hence, I'm already going out of my mind trying to even follow along. So like I had to contact uni and be like, look, I actually can't keep attending the live seminars because of the overwhelm that then turns into the "you're so dumb, Olivia," that then turns into the "it is fucking with me," obviously, yeah? So I reached out and I let everybody in the team, including my note takers, know that what I'm going to do is once I get the notes from my note taker and then watch the seminar with them, because I still need to add, my own little notes to myself to make it make sense. Now, these seminars are going for like 2 hours. It's taken me like 5 to get through because of the fact I have to pause and rewind and pause and learn and this and that. Yet on saying all of this, I'm actually feeling really fucking good. Like, I'm becoming even more and more interested, and I'm like, this is kind of awesome. Like, that's the attitude I need. But I've also, in a group of people, except for like maybe 1 or 2 people that are like mature age, they're all almost straight out of VCN. So they're all kids, 19, 18, whatever, and they've got this attitude that I've never been able to have. But like this particular girl I'm talking to, she's 19, she's just, it's like, she has no idea she's done this, but it's just with the way she talks to me, it's like all this pressure and overwhelm and stress that I put on myself has been freed by this woman who's doing all of the assignments in the wrong order and just confusing us. And she's just like, it's all good. And I'm like, what do you want to do after your degree? And she has the perfect answer. Depends on what grades I get. And it's just... And I literally think I said to her, I was like, oh my God, I'm so happy I've met you. Like, you're making my life so much easier, yeah? But I decided I was going to get the second screen. Yeah, I was like, fuck this, I'm doing it. Graham found a really good one for a good price, Black Friday sales, yeah?
Yep.
And I was like, eventually I want to get to the point where I have a desktop and set up. So this is where this analogy, this is a real situation, but where I think it'll pull in. So then Graham, whose dad, as I've said, is a retired IT expert. Now, the dude is so young looking. He must have been fucking amazing at his job. It's the only way my brain can compute, yeah?
That's the genetics also.
I don't know. Well, yeah, it could be. But, like, all I know is these two are wizards, right? So Graham is like, I said to him, all right, it's the sales. Maybe just humour me. What will it cost to get, like, the basic bare necessities to start up a desktop, which is what I prefer, and then that way I can build from there. Well, when he said it was going to cost around 600, I was like, yeah, okay, cool. From 600, it got to 1,568 exactly. 1,568, and I was like, okay, I'm not sure what's happening, right? But he was like, I promise you, and I trust him. I absolutely do, yeah? He was like, this is amazing deal. This is like actually what is considered in the computer world fantastic price for what it is. And I was like, okay. And I'm still sort of like, and then this is what happened. And this is one of the things I need therapy on. So it's all tied together wonderfully. So I went to go through with it. And one of them wasn't available, and I was like, okay, I'll call the store, I'll figure it all out, because we're not talking about buying a computer that I plug in. We're talking about buying fucking a dozen different pieces of computers that literally need to be built together, yeah?
Oh.
And mind you, I need the screen immediately because I'm literally in class. Like, I need as soon as possible, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, so what happened was, and it was not on him whatsoever, and this is where my fucking bitch, shitty, selfish part, I guess, kicks in, and I blame myself. Yeah, no, let me finish the story before I know. I get ahead of myself, people, all right? So, I had spoken to the store, we figured it all out, and then I spoke to Graham, and I was like, when can you get to my house? Because this is a hell of a lot of money for me to spend when I have literally zero ability of using any of it. They're just pieces. They don't mean anything to me. And that's when he was like, oh, maybe, and this was on Mondays, he was like, maybe Sunday, but I can't confirm. And in my head, I'd assume you should never do that, but in my head, because it was so needed so urgently, And he'd gone to all, and he spent 2 days looking at this. So he literally went out of his way. Like, he was amazing. Unfortunately, this is then when I'm like, wait, what? I'm like, this is for uni. I was like, what could possibly be more important than you coming and helping me put together this extremely expensive computer that I literally know what none of these pieces of things are. I said, I really thought you would have just picked it up immediately and came to me. And he responded with, Liv, I know this is overwhelming and stressful for you. And this is my logical friend, remember? And he's like, and I understand that this causes you angst and all of this stuff. He goes, but you need to remember, I have a life too. And I have plans.
Good job, friend.
Yeah. And then I was like, what plans could be possibly more important than helping me? So
His plans.
Well, that's what he said. So he then relayed exactly what he was doing. And that's when I became even more of a, you are fucking kidding me. You're putting a day before coming to help me put this elaborate bloody computer that you've decided I need. That's costing me $1,600. And he was just like, Liv. And I was like, okay, I'm going to shut up now before I lose my friend. And I apologized because it was 1000% me being wrong. Like, it was not right what I did, and I fully see that. And this is where I get myself all hung up, because it was like almost in the moment, it was like the sliding doors again. I could see it, but I couldn't, because to me it was like your day and your senior friend is literally here in comparison to I'm still at uni. And you need to come do this for me, which is horrible.
Because it's the priority in your life, but you are one of the priorities in his life.
That's what he said. And I apologise, I've apologised a few times, but he's been fine. But when shit like that happens, when I know it's me, when I know I've done something really wrong, the guilt gets to me. And then I start imagining things. And then yesterday I was like, are you mad at me? And he's like, no. And I'm like, I feel so bad.
So that's the part that we need to slow down on. So yeah, okay. Here's the thing.
I didn't get the computer, by the way. I just bought the screen and had it express post to me, so I can do that.
You didn't get the fancy computer with the bits?
No, because I didn't know when he'd be able to come. And it was too much. And this is when I guess the self-pity part came out. And I was like, can't rely on anyone but myself. Blah, 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 blah. I'm getting a screen, have an express post. I'll do it alone. See you when I see you. Okay. Then the guilt kicks in.
Okay. So here's the thing. Circa a year ago, maybe 2 years ago, your reaction to this situation would have been that you'd burn your relationship with Graham to the ground.
Oh, I would have burned it to the ground, probably.
So, done. Like, significant improvement. Like, now you're like,
I saw
I'm gonna be flippant. I had a bit of a tantrum. I'm super sorry. Move on. Really quickly.
Yeah.
Really quickly. Like, within the same conversation. So, great. Now, let's talk about the self-pity part and whether you needed the 12, how much was it? $1,600.
$1,568 exactly.
So, here's the thing. Like, it might be a really good deal for what it is. But is that what you need? Or do you just need a basic model? Because, like, you're not a gamer. You're not a...
Exactly.
I don't
developer,
know any computer.
Coders.
Yeah, coder. I don't even know what coding is.
Thought. Like, neither do I, so it's all good.
That's never. But that's not the point. But you don't need that stuff. And so whilst it's a great deal, you know, when you're learning, like when kids learn to play cricket,
yeah, I know what you mean.
They don't need to buy the $500 stick bat.
No, I know what you're talking about.
Cricket bat.
Yep.
They don't need that.
They get the little plasticky ones.
They get the plastic crap, and then they break it, and then if they stick with it, then they do that. But we don't start with you don't start with a...
Yeah.
I don't know anything about cricket, so it's a terrible choice. You don't start with the really extensive...
It's fun, though, when you do it. I love
the professional, the things. You don't
you and
start with it.
You and I have been seeing each other for so long, like...
You know what I mean.
I always get you, you know what I mean?
You know
so it's fine. But no, because that's what
you
I
don't
kept
need
saying
to
to
have.
him.
And that's...
Upside down, good.
But then they...
Yeah,
I don't know how to open it.
I'll do it for you.
So, I don't know.
Mm.
But they
It's-
don't know, like, they don't know that about you because for them, thank you so much. For them, it's
No, I get it. Well,
like,
'cause he
oh,
was
this is so great.
because they are like full on. Like he was like, this is a basic model compared to say mine, but he's like a full blown gamer, and I was like, look, I'm barely struggling with tennis, eye, body, hand movement
Honest, all
coordination.
you actually need is something that's going to do word processing, maybe an Excel spreadsheet,
I got swept
probably
up in
have an
it.
internet connection,
Mm,
and like
look,
SPSS.
let's face it, they've changed from SPSS to
Oh.
Jamovi, and it's amazing.
You know, I'm just going to say that just alleviates so much of my.
I feel sorry
Trauma.
for every single person that had to do SPSS because the first time I enrolled in statistics, that's what they were using. I was like, I'm fucking out, mate. Oh my
It was
god.
a lot. I'm just going to say.
Yeah, they don't use it anymore.
It was
The
a
new
lot.
software is so much better. And I hate software. So the fact that I'm feeling okay, but like, I'm so happy because I can see I was becoming swept up in this is so exciting. Oh my God, this is amazing. I've still got my house. I don't need this for the bomb, blah, 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 blah. And then it was just like, the self-pity part was, I'm only got myself to rely on. Never got anyone else to
Yeah,
rely on. Blah,
and-
blah, blah. Even my brother told me to stop being such, like, my brother emails me off and on, and
Yeah.
recently he was like, stop with the self-pity bullshit, Liv. And I'm like, I didn't even know I was doing it.
No, I think that there are times, I'm going to go out there. I think that there are times that you do get really close to things and you can't see the forest through the trees.
Yeah.
And I think
Agreed.
that when we take big steps backwards, you perspective yourself.
My awareness is good. It's just not always great in the moment.
So that's something that we look at. We look at taking those steps back in the moment when you're distressed, having that 30-second stop,
Mhm.
or 10 seconds or 5 seconds, whatever you can tolerate, where you take it all back and you look at the big picture. In the big picture, for example, is a 79 on an assignment really a big deal? No.
No,
If
you're
we
right.
take 700 steps back, is having to do, I don't know.
Well, now that I've realised I'm not actually doing my degree to get an actual job, like, it kind of really changes the perspective when I think about it.
It does, and yet you're also a perfectionist because you want to be proud of it. So
Oh,
do
I
still
will
strive.
always do my 101% best. The first quiz, worth 5%, is due at 8 p.m. tonight, and I already have an extension until 8 p.m. next Thursday.
what I'll say about that, though, is that you...
Just say it.
I'm
I'm the
trying-
one person you could just literally say shit to without having to
know.
like pussyfoot.
I know. I'm not. I'm trying to make the sentences. You know, with me, with how many coffees
Well,
I've had today.
I
I'm only on
haven't-
2.
Two. Oh my
No,
god.
it's so rad.
I should bring you V next time.
I
What's your
know.
favorite
Oh, God,
energy
no.
drink?
No, coffee.
It is. Well, I've actually been through something very interesting in the last week. Now that we're talking about stuff that, since you're my therapist, seems like a good point to bring up.
Yes.
So, as I've said, I've attended a couple of these Toastmasters classes.
Oh, yeah. I was going to ask
And-
about Toastmasters.
Yeah, and I can't remember if I've made the decision since seeing you or before, but I realised I needed to hold off joining efficiently. We haven't talked about this. So, since speaking to you last, I had to make a very grown up, sensible decision, which, pat on the fucking back, I don't like to do very often, let's face it.
No one does. Usually means it's a lot less fun.
Yeah, exactly. So, Toastmasters is, as I've said, bigger and better and more amazing than even I realised, right? But I've realised I'm so passionate about it that if I join now, it will fuck me with uni. So I've made the growing up decision to not officially join until I've actually graduated. Now, I'm welcome as a guest for the rest of the year. I've been invited to the social end of the year event, all of this wonderful stuff, right?
That's nice. Yeah.
So the very first one I went to, as I said, was a contest, not a regular one.
Yeah.
And I had told you I'd rush, and I got there and I just grabbed a seat. And I grabbed a seat next to this man, Victor.
Vincent,
And
something like that.
yes, Victor. And you know me, I was like, hi, I'm
Chop, chop,
Liv.
chop.
I need to make friends. Can I have your number? Let's catch up
Now
for
we
coffee.
play tennis.
Exactly. Right. Now, this is where shit gets real interesting, okay? So, Victor has a housemate, or a boarder, you should say. She's also with Toastmasters. She's older than him and he's in his 70s, yeah? So he owns his own house, 3-bedroom, blah, 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 whatever it is. All that aside, it's not the issue. Now, I have, since this stupid ADHD diagnosis, I say stupid because it just fucks with me. Yeah, I know what it is. It's fine, medicated, blah, blah, blah. But I like to be around people when I study, and it does appear that being around people I know helps me study better than just randomly going to a library for whatever reason. And me and Victor have hit it off on a house on fire. We just really enjoy each other's company. Plus, my dog loves him because he comes and walks Boss like all the time, and it's just like I go for the walk with him, but I don't actually have to deal with Boss. So I've been able to take the chain away, thank God, put him back on his harness. It's awesome. Anyway, I was telling him all about how, you know, I'm a student and this and that, and he has his own office and works from home. And I was like, would you ever consider allowing me to sort of come and study? And I'm not talking like right next to you. I'm not talking about in the room. I'm like just, I don't know, at the kitchen table, somewhere where I know I'm in a house with other people, right? He was perfectly happy with it. Absolutely fine. Was excited, truthfully. And then, all right, how do I make this story make sense? So we were meant to have a coffee last Thursday, me and him and this woman that's living with him, yeah? Mm-hmm. Who he took in, she would have ended up on the street, this, that. He's taken her in and pays for everything. He's basically, well, I've told him to his face that, no, I believe he's being absolutely manipulated on every single level. I mean, a saint, sure, a manipulated one, but a saint anyway. And yes, Victor, I have to talk about this, I'm sorry. So, I did a shout out to him on my video last night, and he messaged me and told me it made his day, so it's all good. Okay. So, anyway, we were meant to have a coffee a week ago, and for whatever reason, I just couldn't. Oh, that's right. So he'd sent me a message saying that she was going to cancel, and I just finished making a video. My video literally started off with, I'm in a mood, I'm pissed off, I need to talk it out. Now, she rung, everything's on solo when I make my videos, obviously, and I was like, I already know why this woman is ringing. I've already been told she's going to cancel, but this is where the fuck-ups happen, right? I knew I was in the mood. Like I said, I literally started that day's video with, I'm in a fucking mood. Probably not the right time to be talking to people, yeah? So instead of just messaging her and being like, hey, got your message, all good, you know, I rung her. And I rung her, and I was, like I said, not in the mood to talk. I thought she was just going to tell me she was cancelling and be done with it. And this is where the boundaries, my inability, blah, blah, blah. She wants to talk. And I know what that's like, because I usually always want to talk. I'm usually the one on this side. People are trying to get me off the phone and I just don't stop talking. Well, I was on the flip at this point. So by this point, I've now said 3 or 4 times, yep, cool, it's all good. I'll check my calendar. I'll get back to you. Yep, nothing's working. So she just keeps talking.
Did we try I have to go?
I think so, yeah, but didn't seem to work. And I don't know, like I felt bad and this whole thing. And anyway, she just talked, right? And it was starting to become real trippy because, like, she's got 3 degrees. I am going to disclose she has Asperger's because it's a very important part of the story. Because when I've hung out with Victor, he doesn't know how to say one sentence without bringing that up, right? Now, the entire time I've known him, the entire time I meet anyone, when I meet people, I'm like, you have to understand that just because I look and sound fine, doesn't mean I'm feeling it, yeah? Anyway, people don't fucking register. So
tell them that you have a sunburn that they may not be able to see because you've covered it wearing a long sleeve shirt.
No, that would be a lie. How long have you been my therapist? Yeah, exactly. We don't lie, okay? So
no, I mean as a metaphor.
Yeah, well, see, I've made it real clear to Victor. I was like, because I'm going to finish the story, all right? So Anyway, she's talking, and it was so trippy, okay? Because she was literally, it was like she was in my head, relaying to me almost word for word exactly what I've been saying since I quit ice. It was unfucking believable. It was like hearing myself from someone else, like trippy to the point where I was just like, okay, this is like I was already in a mood. Obviously, I'm really like, what the fuck is happening?
Yeah.
Like, this woman basically is me, is how I felt. And then she goes, oh, the reason I want to do all this, the touring, the public speaking, the blah, 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 is to teach people about the Bible. Wow, Jesus, that changed the whole fucking conversation. I went, what? And she was like, oh, yes, I'm so passionate about the Bible, blah, blah, blah. Oh, that by that point, I was like, you've sucked me in. You made me listen to you for this long? All right, let's go. Yeah? I'm like, this book that contradicts every single religion that there is and every bunch of bloody ways. I was like, tell me how you want to, like, actually make that make sense. So she starts going on about it. And then I'm like, okay, so I need to have this, and this in my life to be whole, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, yes. And I'm like, okay, no. And then at this point, I really should have got off the phone, but my ego's going out of control at this point. And I'm like, okay, I need to ask you one final question. Yeah?
Yes.
And she's like, and what would that be? I'm like, do you believe in original sin? Children are born with original sin. And then she starts going into this, oh, yes, blah, blah, blah. I said, I cannot talk to you anymore. I was like, the fact that you actually believe children are born with original sin is fucking disgusting. I was like, I do not want to speak to you right now. I said, in fact, I'm almost in tears. Like, I was so emotionally dysregulated by this point. I was like, I'm really, really sorry. This conversation shouldn't have happened. I don't want to speak to you. Hung up the phone. Yeah? Now, this is where it gets worse, right? This is why I need to tattoo all my beliefs onto me, because it doesn't always help, yeah? So, this is what went down afterwards. So, my dysregulation just grew and grew and grew, right? So, we're supposed to be having this coffee. She had to cancel for something else, but me and Victor were still cool to go. We were going to have coffee, lunch, whatever it was.
Yeah.
I was really looking forward to it. He was really looking forward to it, blah, blah, blah. After the phone call happened, these two people lived together, mind you. I did what I'm now very aware I've done multiple times in this session, preempted shit. So I sent through multiple messages to Victor going, oh my God, I'm never going to be able to step foot in Toastmasters again. This is what's happened. I'm sure you'll never want to talk to me again. Like, oh my God. I like basically ranted while I'm smoking weed and taking Valium to try to calm myself down, because I'm just so past it at this point. And then I wouldn't look at my phone. So she tried to call me back and I was like, fuck you, no chance, I'm speaking to you. But then I put my phone on silent, put it away, and I checked it a couple times, just for whatever reason.
Yeah. And
I could see the messages and the missed calls and everything coming in, right? Now, I believe we should always come from love. Everything will be fine. Doesn't work like that when you've got 100 different versions in yourself inside of you that don't all agree with them, yeah? So at this point, I'm very much coming from I can't deal, that's going to be bad, that's going to make everything worse. I've already just lost a friend, and I'm fully beating myself up at this point, because I'm like, I had literally no right to say that to that woman. I know I didn't. I fully agree with everything I said. I think all the Bible was bullshit. I truly think that. But it's not my right to say it in the way that I did. It's more...
We'll come back to it.
Yeah, but so basically I ignored. Now I sunk so fast into that spiral, just went straight down. We went past all the self-harming. I'm now sitting very deep in amongst the dozen or so different suicide thoughts, that I'm dealing with at this point.
Mm-hmm.
I'm crying to the point where I can't breathe. And it wasn't until the following morning that I'm finally brave enough to check my phone. And this is where it fucking fucks with me. Okay, so I spent all of Thursday in the worst state ever, right? Like literally felt like I peeled a muscle from just, I was fucked up.
Yeah.
And yet all the messages that were coming through were like, everything is fine. Stop catastrophizing. Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? And I'm like, do not ever tell me I'm fucking catastrophizing again. I'm like, I'm in fucking therapy. I said, I know what I'm doing. I know why I'm doing it. Start fucking listening to what I've said I've got. Yeah? Like I was done. I was just raging and just emotional. Yeah, you know what it's like. So if I just looked at the messages that night after this little phone call, none of this would have happened. She was fine, he was fine, everything was fine. In my head, everything was not fine. And so I was continuously getting these messages, and I'm like, just stop. I'm mentally not well. I'm having an extremely bad mental day. I cannot stop crying. And at this point, Victor had not even considered that, oh, that's right. She mentioned she's got a bunch of different fucking bullshit going on. So at one point, it got to around 4 o'clock in the afternoon by this point now, and I can see the two ways, the sliding doors, what I should have done and what I've actually done. I would have had an amazing day, gone out for lunch, played some tennis, done all this. Instead, I cried so fucking much, I added to my chronic pain. A day in bed crying doesn't make you feel better. It actually makes you feel worse, right? So at around 4-ish, he sent me a message saying, oh, can't believe we've been friends for less than a month, one fucking ill-timed phone call, and, you know, c'est la vie, the friendship is dead. And I was like, fuck you, cunt. I rung him. So I picked up my phone and I rung him. And I was crying in the way that you've heard me, where you literally can't understand a word I'm saying. Like, I'm crying so bad I can barely breathe. And it wasn't until that moment that he finally registered, I have not absorbed one thing you've said. He goes, you've told me. He goes, I know you have told me everything you live with. He goes, but because you're so happy and vibrant and fun to be around, he goes, it's almost impossible to believe. And I'm like, well, in a way, I was like, you now get to make the decision. Do you want to continue to be my friend and understand that I am working my ass off to do whatever it is that this doesn't happen? I don't want to be fucking in my 60s and 70s and still dealing with this. I don't. I'm literally 30 days away from my 37th birthday, you know? And I'm like, we talked, he stayed on the phone, he was genuinely fucking just, in the end, it was one of those, I'm really glad it actually did happen now so we can get past it, because he's like, now that I understand, he's like, I will pay more attention. So you know what I'm like, after the phone call, I just started sending through links to like literally all my diagnoses, yeah? And I sent through every one of the mental health ones. I was like, here's a little light reading. We'll just start with the mental health. When you're done, I'll send you all the physical ones on top. Yeah. I was like, because whether or not people are taking shit in about what I say, this is real. Yeah. And honestly, it was very much like it had to happen. He goes, there's absolutely no way I would have ever been able to believe really or register really what it is you're saying if I hadn't have heard that. He goes, I could hear the deep trauma. He goes, the trauma, the pain that was coming through on the phone, he goes, was like something he's never experienced. And I'm like, yeah. So we're continuing on. So we're good. I must admit, I was going to get some stuff from the supermarket, and he'd messaged me saying, oh, she'll be down there. And we bumped into each other. Oh, yeah. And we were talking, and we'd agreed to have the coffee yesterday, or it was meant to be today, whatever it was. And I was like, yep, cool. So we're talking, and at this point, Victor was really happy for me to be there and study, and everything's fine and whatnot. And I said to her, I was like, oh, you know, she mentioned something about going out. She's like, oh, I don't want to offend this Bible study. I was like, look, you do you, I'm doing me. I'm sorry how I spoke on the phone. Let's just, you know, I was like, oh, but I'll see you around. It'll be nice because Victor said I can come and study every once in a while. And she goes, absolutely no, you cannot. And I'm like, I'm sorry, what? She goes, you are not welcome. I'm like, wait. I said, is it? I said, is it because of what happened on the phone? She goes, oh, no. She goes, you're just not welcome in the house. I'm sorry. And I'm going, I'm sorry, but you are talking about Victor's house, who he took you in. She goes, I live there. I'm like, yeah, that's fine. I said, all good. I won't be there when you're there. I said, I'll just come on the days you won't be there. She goes, absolutely not. You are not welcome in the house. And I was like, I'm so confused. I was like, I thought you were like interested in perhaps, getting to know each other. Maybe be friends. She goes, oh yeah, we can still have coffee, but you cannot come to the house. And I was just like, I cannot speak to you. I was like, I actually don't want to be anywhere near you. I'm in the middle of a plaza at this point, using every single bit of fucking control I've got to walk away. And I did. And I obviously messaged Victor going, this is fucking insane.
Yeah.
Like, I had to walk around the supermarket for over an hour to calm myself down. Yeah. And that is where we're at, basically.
Okay.
And hence, she's manipulated him to basically believe that she can't get away with murder for her Asperger's. And I was like, don't keep talking to me about it. I was like, her Asperger's can meet my bipolar and borderline. I said, I don't use my shit. Look, I'm not being mean. People, Asperger's, no. I'm not trying to say anything like that. It's just, she's literally having everything provided for her by this person and controlling his life.
So at the beginning, even before this bit, I don't really want you to be friends. Because you have polar opposite views and polar opposite values.
I don't want to be a friend. I just wanted to be good enough so that I could see Victor. It's his home.
Having coffee with her and stuff, no more.
I didn't have it. I cancelled it, but it took 8 goes to write the fucking text to be as nice and diplomatic as I could be.
Still have coffee with Victor.
Coffee? He's coming tonight to help me walk boss. We're going to play tennis. I got bloody oath.
Yeah. So that
yesterday, our friendship's going to stay.
Yeah.
But I just made sure that he is very, very aware that if he says something like, I spoke to Liv and then I happen to bump into her, I won't be collaborating with lies. If I'm asked, I've seen him. And he's aware of that. I was like, you do you, but I won't be lying about anything. Any advice before my time's up? It's like being in prison, time's up.
Therapy, prison.
No, it's so different. I'm trying to get everyone to realize how awesome therapy is, but
it's a hard process sometimes, therapy, but and we are going to say things that are hard, like you were maybe catastrophizing in that moment.
I absolutely. I did. 100%. That is exactly what I did.
But okay. Don't be friends with this lady, and you're just different people, and different isn't bad. Neither one of you is wrong.
No,
it's just you're not compatible, and that's okay. So you don't have to push it. And sometimes I think, Liv, maybe this is for Victor, that you were going to try to push it, to befriend her.
Only because of Victor.
But you don't need to. Victor's, I assume, a smart, intelligent adult man who can make his own decisions around who he spends time with and how he engages the world and engages his friends. And he can navigate those shark waters all he wants.
Yeah, no, that's what I've said to him. I'm like, look, I'm not willing to even deal with what would happen if I came over if she was there. I said, but if you honestly are going to treat me like I'm banned from your house when she's not there, I said, that's going to cause us some issues,
Well, yes and no. I mean, I do see I'm going to be generous. I do see from her side, if you live in a house, you want to have an element of control around who has access, because houses are our sanctuaries, our homes, our safe places.
True.
And if you have what seemingly is a dislike for you, having you go into her sanctuary could be threatening, could make her feel vulnerable. But, and Victor has some difficulties. He has to navigate that. That's for him to decide. But even if you don't go to Victor's home, it doesn't mean that you're not very good friends. You can, homes
Oh,
are,
I don't think that at all, but it will piss me the fuck off.
it'll piss you off, but it won't end things.
See, that's where I get concerned.
That's part of the black and white thinking.
Yeah.
I have friends that have never been to my house.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that normal? I
It's-
find that so fucking bizarre. I can't, I just don't get it.
Do you know the thing that stops me from having people at my houses?
Your children, I would say, but
Also,
maybe not.
yeah, and time and cleaning.
Oh, yeah.
I hate that part, you know, like, oh, gotta clean things to have people come over. Anyway, this my own problems. But
I was just saying, I've just realised something. Victor used to work for like the people who signed, like at the very end of the chain who signed off for like disability. He's like, if you're actually on disability, he goes, somewhere, someone has declared you as a permanent resident of this country because you have to be on it. He's like,
yeah.
so he goes, it makes zero sense, this whole NDIS thing.
oh, I know, I've thought that the whole time.
So he's going to help me look into it because he literally worked for them for 25 years.
Because you have to assimilate, but it's, anyway, I don't
No,
really-
it's
I don't
very
understand.
confusing, but I'm going to at least
permanent
look into
residency
it.
is a hard thing. Anyway, I feel like you're permanently residential.
I'm not going anywhere.
Mm.
But the neighbours are gone. My house is good. I've rearranged everything. My new screen is coming, hopefully within a few days. And
I
I've
hope you figure
realised
out where to plug it in.
it'll just plugs literally into the laptop. It's just an HDMI cable, one to the other. I've never used two screens in my life, so it'll be funny learning, but I will probably just film everything.
I have
That's what I
two
do.
screens at my other job, and like
I always forget you've
literally-
got two jobs.
literally, I move the mouse and it's like over there. And you're like,
Yeah, I know.
I'm like, where is it?
I've got heaps to learn, I will say that much. Do we know what's happening next year with the plans and stuff? You know, it's been added double for COVID.
Oh, the
I'm
double
guessing
COVID.
it'll be go back to normal.
Well, that's up to the government. So the government's gonna try not to be mean. No, I
Sure.
can't. The government.
Yeah.
So the government is the government, and as a consequence, you know, they're not going to decide anything before
of
December
course.
28th. So between December 28th and December 31st, at some point, we'll find out. It is a extreme challenge because I know there's ministers and advocacy groups that are all talking about an escalation and challenges with cost of living and inadequate Medicare rebates to support the reality of what it looks like to access support.
I have to pay out of pocket to see my doctor now.
Yeah, you're one of
know?
the only people that we don't have out-of-pocket fees for at this clinic.
I
left.
must admit, I did not know that you were worth what you charge, and like you totally are. But I was just like, wow, I'm not sure. I'm like, this must have increased over the years, but yeah,
Yeah,
because I said to one of them, Christine, like one,
we've
I was like,
increased in the last 10 years. I've had a $40 increase.
1,000% worth it. You know, I think that
Took
yeah.
10 years.
Like I said, we've been seeing each other
Yeah.
forever. You know, like sometimes, you know, like
We find it difficult because we charge less than we benchmark against other clinics, and we charge less, so we actually have an excess of, I shouldn't say this out loud, an excess of
I don't totally.
referrals.
Do you want me to
Um,
stop?
No, it's all right. We have an excess of referrals because we're more affordable at the gap that we have than the people who are double our gap.
When I was referred to you in the very first place so long ago, I was told I would be out of pocket.
Yeah.
You've just always been amazing. Because I can see it when I log into stuff. But yeah, like I said, it depends on what happens.
So yeah,
but
they're
like,
if you want my opinion of what they'll do, it's probably unlikely that they will continue the
that's
sessions.
what I've been basing it on, yeah.
I hope they do, because the truth is that evidence base is 10 sessions is inadequate, and you know
Be good if
it's
that's like
less,
Harvard,
it's
you know.
less than once a month.
Yeah, no,
Really,
I know that.
and that becomes problematic for people for a full course of treatment at any time.
Mm.
But you know, we can re-challenge NDIS with Victor's support, which is a different funding stream.
Yeah,
And you know,
I hadn't even thought of it when he said it. He's like, the process you would have gone through, because, you know, I've been through it however many years ago, didn't
Yeah.
think about it.
no,
And then it brought all the memories back. I was like,
Yeah.
wait a minute, everything you're saying is correct. I did have to prove all of this
yeah,
because
like
I had to
effectively you
prove
need
I
the green
wasn't.
card.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
you know,
So there's,
glad to know that you
I
have
think
people
that
that don't
Medicare-
come over, so that's good.
I think that Medicare, if you have a green Medicare card,
I do.
I think that that is the indicative.
Yeah, so I'm gonna have to figure out where I went wrong, but that's cool. But okay, I'm feeling
Well, it
good.
went wrong because I don't think we ever lodged.
No,
because
we
they-
lodged.
Did we?
The problem is everything I've got together. I showed it to him. I was like, "This is the stack of paperwork I had to go through." I was like,
It
"There
was
is
hell.
only so many times you can read the words. This poor, unfortunate woman. Those 4 words. Those 4 words.
I didn't write that.
This poor, unfortunate woman is basically the start of like hundreds of pages of medical
It's a
books.
very medical specialist sentence.
It's very depressing when you're the
It
patient
is.
and you've never actually read this stuff before.
Many people don't read them.
But all I remember is the day I got the thing saying it was rejected because of the residency, I was an absolute distraught mess. And the very one piece of paper I need, according to Victor, I can't find. So I've got to ring him up and hopefully it's easy enough to email to me.
Hopefully.
But yeah,
Let's
have-
fingers crossed for that.
yeah, I have one of these left with you. Awesome.
I don't know when that is, but soon-ish.
Bye everyone.